In this video, I'm going to solve this quadratic equation by factoring and applying the zero product principle. The first thing that I need to do is make sure that my quadratic equation is in standard form. That means that there's all the stuff on this side and a zero on the other side. To fix this one, I'll need to subtract 3 from both sides. Now that I have my quadratic equation in standard form, I can work on factoring it. Now, this one's going to be a little bit tricky to factor because the lead coefficient is not 1. In this video, I'm going to show you the guess and check method for factoring one of these more tricky quadratics. In a future video, however, I will also show you the A times C method, which many students prefer. For the guess and check method, I always start by writing down my parentheses for how I know it's going to factor. There are 4 spots that I need to fill in. So I start trying to think about what can go in those spots. The things in the first 2 spots need to multiply together to be 2x squared. There's really only one way to make that happen. One of those things is going to have to be 2x, and the other one is going to have to be x. So that one has taken care of itself. Now I start looking at the other 2 slots. These 2 need to multiply together to be -3. So that tells me that one will have to be positive and one will have to be negative, and one of them is going to have to be a 1, and the other one's going to have to be a 3, so that I can get a 3 out of that multiplication. At this point, I'm just going to randomly pick 1 and 3, positive and negative, plug them in, and then see what happens. So let's say I put a -3 over here and a +1 over here. Now I'm going to multiply this back out and see what I get. When I multiply this, when I FOIL it, I'll get 2x squared minus 6x plus x minus 3. And when I combine these 2 middle terms, I get 2x squared minus 5x minus 3, which is not quite what I have up here. So this is not the correct factorization. However, it gives me a hint as to what the correct factorization might be. Because the only thing that's wrong is the sign, I suspect that if I change this 1 to a -1 and this 3 to a +3, I'll have the correct factorization. Let's try it. Now that I've changed the signs there, I'm going to try foiling it out again and see if I get the thing that I started with. So this is 2x squared plus 6x minus x minus 3, and 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. And sure enough, this is the thing that I started with. So now I know that this is the correct factorization. Now that I have the correct factorization, I can go ahead and finish solving this problem. I'm going to go ahead and write my factorization down on another page here. I had 2x minus 1 times x plus 3 equals 0. The big idea behind the zero product principle is that the only way to multiply 2 things together and get 0 is if one of those things was 0. So I can set each of my factors equal to 0 and then solve, and I will get my 2 solutions to this quadratic equation. Here's my 2 little equations. These should be pretty easy to solve. Over here I add 1 to both sides, which gives me 2x equals 1. Then divide by 2, and it looks like x equals 1/2. Don't forget about the other one here. I also need to solve this equation. Subtract 3 from both sides, and x equals -3. Those are the 2 solutions. Remember also that you can always check your solutions by plugging them back in to the original equation and seeing if you get something that's true.